The Seventh Tower by Garth Nix. Book 4, Above the Veil. Chapter 24. Mila woke in a dream. She knew it was a dream because she was standing with one foot on the bowsprit of a speeding ice ship, the wind whistling through her hair. Sunstone light spilled on the ground ahead, and the ship bucked and rolled as its runners met uneven ice. Just ahead, Mila could see a great roiling mass of sleepinesh breaking through the ice. Small icebergs bobbed and splintered as the millions and millions of sleepinesh turned the ice into open sea. The ice ship was headed straight for the hole in the ice and certain destruction. Yet it was not too late for the ship to turn, if only a warning was given. Mila tried to shout, but no sound came out of her mouth. She tried to wave her arms in warning, but they would not move. She didn't mind meeting her end in the freezing water, but she didn't want to take a whole ice ship full of her people with her, even in a dream. A hand touched her shoulder. With it came freedom. Mila turned, meeting a crone's silver gaze. The crone nodded. "Wear water!" Mila shouted. "Turn aside! Turn aside!" She was still shouting the warning when she woke up. The same crone she had seen in her dream was leaning over her. Behind her, Mila could see the golden sheen of the metal walls of the ruined ship. She had made it, and she wasn't dead. The crone had brought her back. "Do not try to get up," the crone warned. "You were far gone in the 10th pattern. You will be weak for some days." "I must tell the crone mother," whispered Mila. "Shadows, Einir, the veil." "We know," soothed the crone. "You told me while you were still in the pattern, and we have walked in your mind while you slept." Mila nodded. Now she was done. The crones knew what they must know. "I will go to the ice," she said. "I have the strength for that." The crone shook her head. "You may not go to the ice. At least not yet. Both you and your shadow companion must first be judged, when you are strong enough to bear the weight of whatever judgment is passed." "There is no need for judgment," said Mila weakly. "I lost my shadow. I brought a free shadow from the castle. And—" She frowned as dim memories came swirling in. "Did I fight the shield maidens?" "Yes," said the crone calmly. "Arla," whispered Mila. "I seem to remember." "The shield mother is dead," said the crone bluntly. "She died with a knife in hand, as she would have wished. Yet perhaps she was always too ready with her knife instead of words." I killed Arla?" Mila's head fell back. She had only flashes of memory since emerging from the heatwaves. Now one fragment was clear in her head, the strange nail on her hand sweeping across Arla's stomach. "It was not a fair fight," she said, the words choking her. She raised her hand to show the strange sunstone-flecked fingernail of violet crystal. "I had chosen magic." The crone shook her head. "It was not a trial combat, so why should it be fair? Besides, Arla was a shield mother, stronger and more experienced than you. And that strange nail is not chosen magic." "What is it?" asked Mila, her voice husky, already fading as she struggled to stay conscious. "It is ours," said the crone. "One of two made for Danir long ago. One she kept, and one she gave away. Both have been lost for more than 1,000 cyclings." Mila heard the crone's voice getting farther and farther away. She tried to answer, but could not. Unconsciousness claimed her. When she came to, there were 3 different crones in her room, and several shield maidens. "The crone mother of the ruined ship has decreed you will be judged," said the eldest, milky-eyed crone. "Are you strong enough to bear whatever your fate may be?" Mila nodded. She was unable to speak, and she couldn't look at the shield maidens. They clustered close as she shakily stood up, their hands on their knife hilts. "Follow me," said the elder crone. She pulled back the curtain of furs and led Mila out. The other crones fell in behind, but a shield maiden remained on either side of Mila. It was a slow progress. Mila had never felt so exhausted. She could hardly put one foot in front of the other, but somehow she managed to keep going. The shield maidens stopped when she stopped, but at no time did they or the crones offer to help her. Finally, they came to a wide door, the furs already pulled aside. The crones went in with Mila. The shield maidens did not. They pulled the fur curtain across as soon as the last crone passed. Mila's eyes had been firmly on her own feet all the way. Now, she slowly raised her head. They had come to a huge room, as large as the Hall of Reckoning. But this room was almost empty, a great chamber of gleaming golden metal walls, ceiling, and floor. There were no sunstones present, but hundreds of lanterns burning Selsky oil were set in concentric rings around the single item of furniture in the whole hall, a tall chair of white bone that stood in the center of the room. Mila was led to it and sat down. The two younger crones tied her wrists and ankles to the chair with strips of Reska hide. The bonds were tight, and the knots strong. Mila did not resist. Then the crones turned the ring on her finger so she could not see the sunstone, and retreated to stand against the walls. Mila sat, silently waiting. It was just her and the three crones in the huge, silent room. She was too tired to wonder what would happen next. What could happen? She had brought a shadow to the rune ship, and she had slain a shield mother. They would probably use the prayer of Astir on her and send her out to stand before the Selsky living sea. Her name would become a curse, a word to be spat, a ballast stone of loathing the far raiders would have to bear for many circlings. She had disgraced herself, her clan, and her people. Now even a clean end of her own choice upon the ice was out of her reach. Mila closed her eyes and let her chin slip forward a little, a small sign of the despair within her. Then she heard the curtain open, and she looked back up. Crones were entering the room. Many crones, more than Mila had ever seen. Scores of crones, from the bright blue-eyed of the newest to the milky-eyed oldest, all of them clad in black. They spread out along the walls, the only sound the shuffle of their feet and robes. There were hundreds of them, Mila saw, crones from every clan and ship. Perhaps even her own Far Raiders crone was there. Mila hung her head again, ashamed. She did not want to see the crone who had always had such high hopes for her. Finally, the crone mother of the rune ship entered. While all the other crones lined the walls, she strode out across the open space, a tall figure, her shadow flickering by her side in the lantern light. She stopped by the chair, unscrewed a bottle she had under her arm, and laid it down next to Mila. Then she stood behind the chair and raised her arms high. There was total silence in the hall, and all the crones were still. The silence lengthened. No one moved. Mila held her breath. Finally, the crone mother spoke, her voice soft, but echoing throughout the vast room. Today we decide the doom of Mila of the Far Raiders, daughter of Yussi, daughter of Imur, daughter of Rohin, daughter of Cleo, in the line of Danir since the ruin of the ship. Before that doom is decided, the crone mother continued, we must hear the words of Mila of the Far Raiders, for she has brought evil tidings, and the news she bears must be weighed with her fate. What must I say? Asked Mila. Everything, said the crone mother. Begin when you left the rune ship with the chosen Tal in your quest for a sunstone. Tell us everything. Mila cleared her throat and slowly began to speak. She told the assembled crones about the journey into the castle, the skeleton with the sunstone, Great Uncle Ebbet and the attack by the guards, the Hall of Nightmares, the mausoleum, the transfer to Einir, the storm shepherds, Tal's use of the prayer to Astir, how Audris was bound to her while she was unconscious, the riddling pool in the desert, the Dawn House, Zika the lizard, Astir's ship, the Codex, Sushin and the Merwin Hornsword, the Keystones and the threat to the Veil. It all came tumbling out of her. The crones listened in silence, though occasionally a ripple passed through their ranks, as it did when she spoke of Astir's ship. They listened, their strange blue or silver or cloudy white eyes intent on Mila. And as they listened, they judged.